Today is a day that I'll finally be getting around to the second part of the community video that I posted a while ago. I was waiting for E3 to finish up before I got around to this, just so that my thoughts wouldn't change before some huge announcement. But as we all know, there was no huge announcement at E3 other than spectator mode, and I'm sure that some people wouldn't even call that huge. Anyways, as with every community video, I'll be answering questions that you guys sent me. If you do want to help me out real quick or just support the channel, feel free to sub. I'd really appreciate it as we are dangerously close to 50k. Now, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. So starting things off, the Weeb asks, are you more excited for the new Viking or Wulin hero? I'm definitely more excited for the Viking hero, and it's mainly because of his weapon. I think his weapon could introduce something new to For Honor, or at least I'm hoping they try something new with him. It seems like UB knows how to create new heroes now, and admittedly, they have been getting a bit better at making heroes that can hold their own, and a few of the newer mechanics, if you want to call them that, have settled into the game for the most part. Blackbriar's Bulwark stance and counter work well, Nusha's traps are nice, Sifu Poise and key stance are nice, Tiandi's dodges are cool. I'm glad that they tried new things with these heroes, and I'm hoping that's the case for the next Viking as well. Hitakiri, admittedly, isn't too exciting, and I'm hoping that he doesn't turn out like her. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Hitakiri, it's just that she didn't bring anything new to the game. She didn't really bring anything that we haven't seen before. As for the next Wulin hero, they could definitely do something interesting with them. I'm excited to see what they've got in store. But for now, I'm much more interested in the Hammer hero, as I feel he could be one of the coolest heroes in this game. I just hope that he gets some really cool armor. Scabs3 asks, what exactly do you look for in a character when considering playing them for a longer period of time? Do you prioritize viability, style, character, or all three? And what do you care most about in new characters whenever they're released? Main thing for me is honestly style and character. I don't really care about the viability or how good a hero is when I'm using them, as I'm mainly playing them for fun, and I have most fun when I'm using a character that I actually want to use. If that character happens to be really good and abusive to players, oh well. If the hero is absolute trash and can't do anything well, oh well. It can be frustrating when your hero has to land like 10 attacks to take someone out when your opponent only has to land like 4, but I personally don't have a great time when I'm using a hero just because they're strong. I have more fun when I like the way my hero looks and I like the way they attack. When looking at a new hero, I'm just more interested in what they bring to the table and if they can do anything new that we haven't seen before. Competing Ku asks, would you consider hosting a tournament for Breach if a spectator mode was in place? I think Breach would make a good spectator sport. I'd have no problem holding a tournament for Breach when spectator mode eventually rolls around. It'll definitely be interesting to watch, and I believe there could be some pretty cool moments that could go down in a Breach match, as there's just more to do in Breach. The games are a bit long though, so I'd only be able to stream the third place games and grand finals, and also have to come up with some sort of rule regarding ties. Say it's best of 3, each team wins 1 game. I need to figure out a way to decide which team gets to play as attackers or defenders, or come up with some way to determine who's the winner based on which team performed better throughout those 2 matches, like which team finished the commander faster or which team stopped the attacking team more quickly. Of course, there's more that goes into that because some teams move more slowly than others because of their strategy, and I wouldn't want to force everyone to play the same way. But yeah, to answer your question, I'd be down to hold a Breach tournament one day after we get spectator mode. Alright, next up, Demonic Titan says, do you think that point B should give more points for the amount of work it takes to capture it? I'm not sure if you're talking about renown or like the actual match score, but B already gives you a nice amount of points. You just have to farm minions to get those points. I don't think B should give 2 or 3 points per second on top of minions, as games would literally be over in a flash, especially if your team is off to a great start. I'm honestly fine with how B is right now. It's a pretty strong point, If you've got someone controlling it, you're guaranteed easy points. Devil Niner asks, what do you think of For Honor's community now compared from Season 1? I think the community has definitely mellowed out since the early days. I think in Season 1, a lot of us were just really excited and enjoyed the game that we had as it was new. But as time went on, we started to notice the flaws the game had other than the connection issues that really hurt the game, and really wanted them fixed so that we could enjoy the game and see it to its potential. So there was a ton of balance talk and outcry whenever anything happened that didn't make sense. And it's sort of the same way now, but the backlash and outcry isn't as harsh as it used to be. I think it's because we're just sort of used to the slow update schedule and sort of accepted that we'll see a few changes every couple of months. At least I know I have, and at this point, I hardly even anticipate anything other than new seasons. There aren't any more serious petitions to boycott the game or hold a blackout. There aren't as many demands for nerfs other than for Raider. I think that most of the people that are left playing this game are here for fun and are trying to enjoy the game and not take it too seriously. So at least in my experience, I don't see as much anger or salt. Of course, there are still toxic players who are just loud and annoying, but what game doesn't have those kind of players? I see people talk about how this is still the most toxic gaming community that they've ever been a part of, but for me, I hardly run into anyone toxic anymore. Talon and I ran into a few people yesterday that were a bit annoying, but other than that, I'd say maybe 1 out of every 50 to 60 games do I run into anyone really hateful. I may run into a few salty people now and then, but never truly toxic. Maybe it's just the people I'm fighting. Even on forums and Reddit, I don't see much toxicity either. But I am curious about this. I could be totally off based on who and how I play, so let me know your experience down in the comments. Tell me how often you deal with toxicity and also what rep and platform you play on. Elijah Rye asks, do you think of Hyper Armor as a good thing or another tool for turtling? There are a lot of questions this time around about Hyper Armor. Honestly, it really depends. It can definitely be used for turtling, which sort of pushes us away from wanting to use offense, as why would you want to lose a trade all the time? But that's only the case for attacks where the Hyper Armor begins really early, like with Hitokiri's heavies. When you've got Hyper Armor like that and you're fighting a hero who has to attack and doesn't have a good bash, why wouldn't you try to trade or go for a parry when you see red? I don't really see a problem with Hyper Armor if the armor starts later into the attack, especially on slower attacks that would just get poked out anyways. The only issue I see with armor is if the attack's armor starts really early. There's also a bunch of questions about what sort of offense I like as well. Honestly, I like any offense that isn't boring. I like free-flowing offense with chains and soft feints that have some risk to them. I'm okay with most forms of offense in the game, with the only offense I really don't like being the really boring bash-based offense. I think that's as least creative as it gets in this game. I think each hero needs some way to open up their opponent, or at least get their opponent to do something. There really are a few heroes in this game who just have such a tough time landing anything against a player that doesn't want to be hit, or against a player that can defend themselves in some way. And let's be honest, at the rate in which Yubi works on these heroes, it may be a while before they can confidently throw out attacks. And again, let's be even more honest here, there's no guarantee that after a weak hero is worked on, they'll be able to attack without being easily shut down. When you've got no offense, you've got to rely on your defense, which again is pretty boring and not nearly as satisfying as landing fun attacks, unless you're doing some nice deflex or something. The weirdo next door is a peeping Tom goes, should Ubisoft postpone new character seasons and have a season dedicated to balancing the game, much like Rainbow Six Siege's Operation Health? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what they were sort of doing in seasons 5 through 7. They were working on heroes and making a few changes to the game while probably secretly working on Marching Fire, but those seasons were sort of boring towards the end of season 6 and 7. Season 5 was awesome, but 6 and 7 were a bit dull because the game was getting samey despite what changes they were making, and of course the pace at which they were making these changes. I'm actually very cool with what they're doing right now. Getting one brand new hero and some hero improvements alongside of them are really nice to me, as we sort of get the best of both worlds. We get a new character, and some work on an older character, along with the mid-season patch that arrives. It keeps the game feeling a bit more fresh with the new hero being introduced. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I really wanted to finish this one up as soon as E3 was over, and now I got some time to put it together. The next one shouldn't get pushed back, as I don't think anything's going on mid-July. Everything goes down late July, early August in terms of the upcoming season. As usual though, I do want to hear what you think, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video, as for some reason I do still read comments. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.